Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. We'll be talking all about the FIFA World Cup final, where a lot of people are calling the best World Cup final ever. This is episode 156 of the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today, I don't know if I even have a witty opening for you today, Logan. I'm sorry, I was too enraptured by the game here.
Was that on today? Was that on today? The World Cup final? Was that today?
Pregame for the NFL.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. That's right. Oh my gosh, Jordan. What a final that was, huh? I think people are calling it the best match they've ever watched in the history of soccer, football, whatever it may be. I think that they said that this is easily the best sporting match you'll ever see. So,
I would say I wouldn't go that far at this point, just because the first 78 minutes was rough.
yeah.
I had checked because it was around right before they called the penalty. I checked. It was like 75th minute. I was like, have France still not gotten a shot off? I was like, there were some things that it looked like they could have counted as shots. So I checked, and they had 2 shots at the 75th minute. A few minutes later, they get the penalty call, and then 90 seconds after they score the penalty, Mbappe scores again, and the game had totally turned on its head, and it became an instant classic. But I would say, I don't know, there's got to be probably some better finals out. Not maybe World Cup finals, but there's got to be better soccer games out there than this. But when you talk about what it all means and all that, and how we were trying to play this as Messi versus Mbappe, and it kind of turned out to be just that, right? Because Messi scores 2 goals, Mbappe scores a hat trick, and then they go all the way to penalties. But it did not look like it was going to be an instant classic. It kind of looked like it was going the route of 1998's final, when France beat Brazil. It kind of felt like that. But here we are, and it turned out to be a really great final. And as a person who didn't care who won, it was kind of just really a lot of fun to watch, but also just like really nervous as well on what was going to happen, even though I had no part to play in this.
Yeah, I was going to say my heart was racing as if the U.S. men's national team was still playing. In fact, I've got more excited about that game than I did any of the U.S. men's national team games, just because it just had that that adrenaline, that momentum, and teams were scoring, so that was kind of interesting. I don't know why they did that, but yeah, so it really was. It was a great ending, and I'll agree with you. Like the first 70 some odd minutes of the match were just total domination by Argentina. Had they dropped this game, I would have felt like they really just screwed a chance just to absolutely take over and win this easily. I think they could have easily won this game. They put away another goal, and we're not even talking about it as exciting. So, but man, what a finish that was. And that's what's wild about this sport. People say it all the time. I know the pundits say it all the time that 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in soccer. And you saw it to an extent. But then I think that's what I said. I said France has to win this in extra time, just because of how bad Hugo Lloris is with penalties, and how great the Argentinian lineup of goal scorers that they were going to throw up there for penalties was going to be.
Yeah, there's something about 2-0, right? And yeah. I'm trying to think about it, and the only thing I can think of is 2-0 makes you feel comfortable enough where you stop pressing as much to score the third. But it's also like on the opposite, where it gives you enough hope.
Yeah.
On the other end, where you're like, okay, if we can just get one, we're right back in this. Mm-hmm. And it sits into, look, it's no 33-0, right? Like, I don't think anybody at 33-0 is like, we got them right where we want them, except the Vikings yesterday, I guess. But, it felt like 33-0 in that first half, because France couldn't even get a shot off. And you're like, Deschamps is making subs right before halftime. Yeah. Burning a window to make subs, and you get it, because they're like, hey, this is our last chance to win this thing. But also, I didn't like the move of taking off Giroud at that point, I guess, because I felt like if all you need to get is set piece, he heads one in and you're back on track. I understood taking off. Taking off. Oh my God, I'm blanking now on who it was. It was Dembele. I understood that one a lot more because he was really absent. He also gave up the penalty.
Yeah.
So, look, we had 3 penalty decisions in this game. Messi steps up and takes the penalty. Mbappe takes 2. He's going to have to take a third in the shootout. And I was actually happy Mbappe scored that shootout one because that is something that's got to be really tough to do, right? Like, it has to be really tough to go up against the goalkeeper again after you just did 2 penalties and have to take another penalty. And he did exactly what he needed to do, which was just put it in the same spot, blast it past the keeper. But sometimes, like they were saying, sometimes the mental game gets in your head then where you're like, well, he knows I'm going to go that way. So now I want to go that way. And then you mess up and don't hit it as well. Just some fun stuff before we really dive into it. I was writing down all these stats that they kept popping up on the screen here that people were tweeting out. Mbappe is the first player to score a hat trick in a World Cup final since Jeff Hurst in 1966. That's how long it's been since we've had a hat trick in the final. The penalty shootout records before the shootout, Argentina in the World Cup have won 5 shootouts and lost 1. France has won 2 and lost 2. That's before the shootout. So now it's 6-1 and 2-3 in a World Cup shootout. Argentina in the knockout stage in the first 79 minutes, Logan, they've outscored their opponents 9-1. After the 79th minute, they've been outscored 4-0. And that's the 2 France goals and the 2 Netherlands goals. But they almost blew it against Australia as well. So this was a thing where it's not just 2-0 is a crazy lead in soccer. 2-0 is a scary lead for Argentina, because this World Cup, they've been having a little bit of letting the team back in. But just like against the Netherlands, when it went to the shootout, they were able to turn it on and win the shootout. And I like that both teams put Mbappe and Messi first to take the penalties. That was the smart thing to do. What sucked for France is their penalty takers fell off way after that. They just don't have the quality that Argentina has in the penalty department. I mean, that first one that gets blocked by, let's see, the goal scorer, the person taking the penalty was Coleman, right? It was, you can say it's a nice save, but I also don't think it was a good penalty. I thought it was a little too high and a little not all the way to the left. I think he was trying to go left corner and low, but it rose a bit and it was not as all the way in the corner. So it was an easy save for Martinez. When he goes, it's like level with his chest and he's able to easily block that. And then, the one from Tuchemeni, which goes way wide, unfortunately. And then at that point, it was over. There's just something about this Argentina team and penalties where they look pretty good. And Martinez steps up in the penalties as well, while Lloris does not.
Yeah, and I mean, amazingly, Julian Alvarez isn't in. Di Maria's not in. So, you've got guys. I mean, it's just their whole lineup.
That one from Dybala, though, was scary. Right down the middle and almost hits Lloris's feet. I mean, that was as close as it could get.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about it, but Hugo Lloris has been known to come out and say that he's not as confident in penalties, and has been pretty adamant about getting better at penalties and stopping penalties, just because it's something that he lacks confidence in. And you can kind of tell, Jordan, where he's got these moments of hesitancy. He did it with Messi's. He kind of freezes and he goes like this, and he does the same thing. I think it was Dybala's, where he kind of goes one way and then starts to go the other. And because he does that, it allows that moment where I think the penalty taker can look at that, read that, and go, okay, he's hesitant and he's going that direction. So I'm just going to misdirection, because he knew, you kind of can feel that he was going like this and then he was going to jump out that way. And I think a lot of them realized what he was doing. So you could just tell there was no confidence. Where on the opposite side, Emiliano Martinez is just, I mean, I think he has a different level of, confidence as far as Lloris is concerned, because there were moments where he just looked like, I'm going to stop these no matter where they go. So he gets a hand on Mbappe's, and I think that's because he's seen Mbappe take 2. So I think that has
He
a
knew
lot.
which way he was going.
Right.
Yeah,
So
he knew which way he was going, but Mbappe still just hit it with
yeah.
such strength that it wasn't going to be stopped. Um, they're pulling out all the awards now. They've just walked out the Golden Ball and the Golden Boot and all that stuff. So we'll see who gets it. I'm assuming Messi's going to win both Golden Ball and no, Mbappe wins Golden Boot
Mbappe won Golden Boot.
because of the hat trick. There's a time where they were tied, but
Yeah.
not anymore. But ultimately, a really great World Cup final. I'm glad it picked up at the end. At halftime, I was texting my dad. I was like, "This is over." Like, I lost faith, and it's not like I was rooting for France or anything. I was rooting for a good final, and I was ready to come on here and be like, "Who would have thought the third place game would have been better than this?" But that totally flipped on its head at a certain point. What I really liked about Messi in this game was, people have talked in the past about, is Messi a choke artist, all this kind of stuff. When he steps up to take penalties for Argentina, there's been times in big competitions he's missed. When you see him take this first penalty to give them the lead, he lets out this big breath, and he does that nice, cool, calm finish, and you're like, wow, like, I think maybe 4 years ago he misses that, or he lets it get to him. Because on those teams, it was always, if it doesn't come through Messi, it's not going at all. This one, he has a little bit more help, and he's able to maybe it's just the years, right? Maybe it's just the years later where he's like, you know what? This is my last chance. I'm going to take this chance, and I'm actually going to do it. So he coolly puts him away. He plays a part in the beautiful counterattack that scores the second goal. He does this nice little flick behind that sets them off on their run. And then for the third goal, he scores it in extra time off of a rebound. It goes past. Lloris made one save, then it kind of falls to Messi. Messi hits it. It's blocked again, but it's already past the line. So goal checked says that it is a goal. And then, if he would have, I think you could put it more on Messi losing if he had missed the penalty, if he had missed the penalty shootout, if he had not scored a goal from open play. But the issue is, he's not the one who's out there making saves or making blocks or playing defense that much. That kind of thing falls more on the rest of the team, right? Like, he had a 2-0 lead that he played a part in, and the team collapsed. Yes, he lost the ball building up to the goal that Mbappe scores, but I mean, I think his defense should have bailed him out of that. I think the goalkeeper probably could have bailed him out of it, but it's also a really nice strike from Mbappe. So, I mean, what can you do? Sometimes those things just happen. And I think we're in good hands, Logan. I think this was a game where people would have looked at Mbappe if it finished 2-0 and said, he's not up for this yet. He's not ready to be the next best player in the world. But he goes out there, scores a hat trick, gets his team back into it, scores his penalty in the shootout. And I think we're in good hands watching Mbappe going forward.
Yeah, there were times too where, like, even when he wasn't involved in the attack much, and in the first half he really wasn't. None of the French players were obviously no
11
shots.
touches in the first half.
Right.
11.
And just his heat map in general. I mean, every time he touched it, it seemed like it didn't seem. There were 3 or 4 Argentinian players within the vicinity, just kind of trapping him in on that side. And you just he couldn't get around anybody because there was just so many Argentinian shirts over. And that's a huge concentration. You and I talked about this. If they just shut him down, and if you watch the beginning stages of the game, they're man marketing. They follow him the whole time he's on the pitch. So I think Argentina had a great first half plan. And then it kind of goes to shambles. They kind of collapse. Once they give up the 1 goal, it kind of felt like France was going to get back in it. It just kind of had that feel to it just because France turned on a dime and then they started to look more dangerous. But like you said, Jordan, I think if we'd have gone, like, if it would have gone 2-1 or 2-0, I think we'd have been still talking about, like, Mbappe really just, a Messi or Ronaldo or whoever it might be, Neymar, they take over that game. And Mbappe really didn't have that showing in the first half where he felt like he was going to go take over a game. It wasn't until later on that he starts to get more comfortable. Once he sees one go in, I think after that it's just a matter of time before he starts to see all of them go in. So, and he's kind of one of those players. It's happened in every game in this World Cup. Once he sees one go in, it's like he goes to a different level where guys can't play with him. And I think that was crucial for France, and that's crucial for him going forward. I think his time with PSG is ending soon. I think he ends up somewhere else. And then he is now given the platform of being the biggest player on the biggest stage in in the world. So it'll be interesting to kind of see and follow him to see where he goes and where he ends up. But I think the next couple steps, it'll be interesting to see which ones he takes. Does he take the Lionel Messi, Ronaldo route where he goes to a La Liga team and tries to run through that league all the time? Or does he go to the Premier League and try to go square to square with, a big physical league that is known for really challenging stars at times, I think. So it'll be interesting. I think Mbappe's got all the skills and the tools that he needs. He's physical, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. So I think he'd do extremely well in any league that he ends up in. But this just proves that he's ready for that torch, and Messi's going to pass it to him.
Enzo Fernandez won the World Cup Young Player of the Tournament from Argentina. We've had Emiliano Martinez won Golden Glove, which I guess was decided off this game. I mean, he had less saves the whole tournament than Lloris had this game. So I'm trying to figure out how they come to that. I guess they just say like, well, he did well in 2 shootouts. I don't know how they vote on these things at times. But Mbappe just got his golden boot. He doesn't really look that pleased with it. I mean,
I don't think he cares.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough to go up there after you put it all on the line. And really, if this France team was healthy, I think this game maybe plays out differently. But good for Mbappe, though. I mean, how many goals is he at now? 12 total? Is that right? In the World Cup?
Yes,
in all World Cups?
hat trick, yes. Since he got the hat trick. Because you and I talked about that. If he gets 1 or 2, he's going to be up there with like 11, double digits. And man, what is it? 18 is the record?
I think 16 with Klose. 16 with Klose. So Mbappe had how many did he have before this game? I don't know if this is updated.
I thought he had
I'm looking
9.
at Wikipedia. I don't know if he at one point he had 11. I think that was before his 3rd goal. So he has to have 12. And I think Messi finishes with 12. No, he has 13. Messi has 13. They haven't updated Mbappe's total on here. On the Wikipedia.
5 goals away
FIFA,
from, here it is.
Does FIFA have a total?
Football Joe has it. 5 goals away from becoming the all-time leading goal scorer. So that would make
so that's 12, right? Because then 4 would tie him with Klose's. 5, that's freaking 2 games for Mbappe next World Cup or something. I mean,
especially
that's
against easier opponents.
Yeah, look, Messi's kissing the trophy. He's caressing it. He got the golden ball. It worked out pretty standardly, I guess, right? I guess they're going to start giving out the 2nd place medals soon.
I like how long he has to walk. He's all by himself out there. He's like, what a moment, though. Wow.
Yeah. Well, here you go. I made a little graphic for Messi here as well. He's got 10 La Liga titles, 7 Copa del Reys, 7 Super Copas, 4 Champions League titles, 3 UEFA Super Cups, 3 FIFA Club World Cups, 1 Liga 1 title, 1 Trophy des Champions title from France, 1 Olympic gold medal, 1 Copa America, 1 Finalissima, and 1, I spelled it wrong, FIFA World Cup is how that is actually spelled. So I'll have to edit that before I post that. But ultimately, that is Messi's Argentina and club stuff. So all of the main awards come from these 3 teams, with Mbappe getting the golden boot and the rest of it going to the Argentina players. But I was right, by the way. I picked Argentina to win this thing before the thing even started, so I feel
I
pretty
had
good
them in
about
my
that.
bracket winning it all. I never.
Did you?
Yeah, I just checked it back,
Oh,
and
okay. So
it
we
was
both
them.
did. Nice.
Yeah. So.
And I was so close when it was 2-1. I was like, hey, I would have that prediction right that I made last week or earlier this week. And what was funny about that is while I was texting that, it was at the moment where like Messi lost the ball, I think.
Mhm.
And then like just seconds after I sent that is the because it's literally 90 seconds after that penalty that Mbappe scored the second goal. And here comes France to get their runner-up medals. Also, not really bad for the French, right? 2014 they didn't do too hot. 2018 they win it all. 2022 with a depleted, injured squad, they get runners up. I mean, of course, they felt like they could probably, if they probably started better in this game, they probably feel like they could have won this.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially Mbappe had a chance at the end that he wasn't able to really get a shot off on right before they went to penalties, and you could see his frustration with that. I think they knew they had to win this thing in
Extra time.
extra time. Yeah.
Yeah, there were moments at the end, like there were some rifle shots from France that Martinez had to keep out. Some real nervy moments for Argentina. I mean, from goal in the 80th minute all the way till the end of extra time, it felt like France was just absolutely smashing.
There were still a few chances for Argentina too before they scored that Messi goal. They
Messi had
a
one
few
where
chances.
I was going to say Messi had one that he rifled that or he saves. Like there was one too that was forget who ended up getting it. I think it's Dybala maybe. I don't know.
No, Dybala came on just for penalties. It was I forget who it was, but they had a chance. I think it was Lautaro Martinez, right?
Yeah.
Who
yes,
had a shot.
Yes.
And he looked like he was wide open, and then the French player slid in to make the stop there.
Save of the game, yeah. The tackle. That's right. Yeah. That's what it was. I couldn't remember who it was, but oh man.
Oh, I see why. Somebody this is why I couldn't find Mbappe's total. Somebody edited the Wikipedia to call Mbappe Ninja Turtle. I don't know why. But here's the thing. He's got 12 goals, Logan, in 14 World Cup matches played. Which is the same as Pele from Brazil. 14 matches, 12 goals. So he's on pace with one of the other time, which is amazing. Man, hopefully a lot of people that tuned in for pregame of the NFL match saw a really exciting World Cup game and say, hey, maybe I should, watch more of this sport, because this was a great advertisement. If you were watching this thing from, I don't know, around the 78th minute, you saw some of the best soccer I think you'll ever see at a professional level, especially at a World Cup level. This ties the most goals in a final, which was 2018 with a 4-2 scoreline for France, but it being 3-3 here. So we were so close to breaking that. And who knows, maybe next final in 2026, we'll have the USA lifting the trophy with a 7-0 victory, breaking the record. Something else I wanted to shout here too is that this final went to extra time for the 4th time out of the last 5. If you exclude 2018, that would have been 4 straight. So if 2018 would have just went extra time, that would have been a big trend of you're not finishing this game in 90 minutes at all. Those being 06 with Italy and France going to shootouts as well. Then you had 2010, Spain and Netherlands went extra. Spain won it before penalties. You had 2014, Germany beat Argentina in the final before penalties, but it went extra time. And then this game. So 4 out of the last 5 going that. And 3 ever have gone to a shootout, this being the 3rd.
Yeah, on trend. So I'm guessing in 2026, it'll be extra time, maybe some penalties, which is exciting for the U.S. I really do. I feel like you said, and my dad and brother are watching, which they don't ever watch it. So it really is, I think, this being on before NFL, especially Fox, a lot of people like the Fox pregame over the ESPN one. I feel like people that were just neutral or, just like sporting events as it is. Like I know a lot of people that just like watching the finals of sporting events because they are interesting, their history. So people watch them. And I can only imagine that this is enticing for a lot of people. The fact that you've got two Goliaths going up against one another. You've got two of the best players in the profession playing one another, kind of passing of the torch. And I know Mbappe's name is huge. Messi sold out all of his jerseys, which Jordan and I are still complexed about how that happens.
Yeah, I'm puzzled about that.
Me too.
They should have blank ones, right? Don't they just
I guess they mean
vinyl
personalized
decals.
ones. Yeah.
It's just vinyl decal.
It is,
you just put it on there.
They do it at the soccer shop at Disney.
Like,
I'm going to drive
we're
down
out
there.
of Messi kits. All right, start grabbing the plain ones and start putting 10s and Messi on it. I don't know. It doesn't seem that difficult.
Right.
But what do I know?
I should just drive down to Springs and see if they have the Argentina kit. Like, wrong. But no, it is cool just because I think this sport has become so massive here in the United States. I mean, if you look at everybody, all the MLS clubs were tweeting like they were at like fan events for a lot of Argentinian and French communities in New York City and San Jose. I think there's a huge, because we're a big melting pot, there's a huge fan base in the United States for all these countries. So it's cool. And I think it's gained so much momentum and we're still kind of at the bottom level of just kind of this sport and how it's kind of progressed throughout the United States. So seeing a game like this helps tremendously, especially because most of those people are probably turning on the game with 80 minutes left and saying like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. Is this what this is always like? And then them trying to understand, like my brother's texted me and goes, so now they're going to penalties, right? After 90 minutes. I said, no, they play extra time. And he goes, okay, so the first team that scores. I said, no, it's, you play,
it hasn't
like an
been
overtime.
golden goal for a long time.
I was like, no, it's played. And then if they're tied at the end of that 30-minute extra time period, then they go to penalties. So it's tantalizing. It's crazy that they both score a goal in the extra time period. So
it was a little deflating when it was a 3-2 lead. I was like, man, I kind of want to go extra time. I want to go penalties,
Right.
like let's keep it going.
Right.
But something else I was just thinking of too is as I was watching the game and you see the 3-2 lead, Di Maria is like crying. He's like so happy, right? Because Di Maria left that game with like a 2-0 lead.
Yep.
And had played very well. And then you get on the bench and you're like, I can't control anything from here.
Right.
And then when it was 2-2, he's like, oh my God. Then Messi scores and he's like, oh, thank God. And then the penalty call again, and he looks nervous again. I was like, I can't imagine putting it all out on the field like that. Then having to sit on the bench and watch my teammates surrender a lead, surrender another lead. And you're like, I just want to win this thing. Like, stop. Especially Di Maria has only like started, I think, 2 games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's at the end of his career. So he's just playing mismatch. Kind of like Giroud, I guess. Like he's playing as many minutes as Olivier. So, Jordan, another fun fact, one that I like, is that we had our first active MLS player win the World Cup in the history of the league. So
yeah, he didn't play though, did he?
No, he didn't. Don't tell him that, Jordan. We're trying to entice people to watch this. He didn't play because he was sick. He had like a stomach bug. I don't know. I'm just making this up at this point, but it's still cool. Like we finally got players that are in and around that team. I think isn't Jerussi, isn't he Argentinian? But he didn't play for the national team, I know. But is Jerussi? I want to say he is Argentinian. Because I think they said he had a shot. Maybe he's Uruguay or Paraguay.
He is, yes, Argentine. Yeah.
Okay. He could have been on the roster, I think.
I don't think so.
No. How dare you?
I don't think so.
How dare you, Jordan? He's better than Thiago Almada. So, I don't know. But anyway, I think the league is growing tremendously. I think there's some steam in behind Messi to MLS at some point in his lifetime. I don't know if that's going to be this year, if that whole thing was actually true. It didn't sound like it was. But then again, I'm not sure that the PSG owner is going to come out and go, yeah, he's moving. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But again, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm assuming one of them end up over here at some point in their lifetime. whether it's he, whether it's Ronaldo, whether it's Mbappe. It'll take time, obviously, with Mbappe, just because I don't see that ever happening if he's in his prime. But this is great. This is great for the U.S. This is great for the U.S. men's national team. Anytime that the World Cup is on and we've been in it and it ends like this, it's good for the sport in all those countries because it grows the sport exponentially with all the youth players. So I'm all for it. I'm glad that it ended like this.
Yeah, this was something that should help. And hopefully, if you are interested, if you're watching, if you're listening, and you haven't checked out your local team, whether it be MLS, USL, whatever, if you're not from America and you're listening to us, supporting your local team, not just the big clubs, is a huge deal of growing the sport worldwide, even though it's already the top sport in the world. But here, in the US, we're always trying to grow the sport even more. And there's the lift of the trophy and the fireworks going off behind them. Something I wasn't sure I'd ever see. Messi lifting the World Cup trophy, especially when it went to 2-2. I was like, oh dang, this might be a France thing here. But they are champions. 1978, 1986, and 2022 is how those World Cups played out. But yeah, so there you have it for that. The third place game, Croatia won that. That was a pretty good game. That second goal from Croatia, the way it just kind of like kissed off the bar, off the post and into the back of the net was a thing of beauty. But all of that action happened in the first half. I had to leave at halftime to pick up something at Target with my mom, and then came back and I was like, oh, it's still 2-1. Like I can watch the rest of this game, but not much else had happened in the third place game. This game was legendary. This is the graphic we made last time. The winner of that is Mbappe. He scored 3 goals this game to put him at 8. Messi scored 2 to put him at 7. Giroud got yanked off in the 40th minute, and Alvarez did not score either. So pretty cool. And anything else about the World Cup final, Logan, or about the World Cup as a whole? Anything that you wanted to speak your mind on here?
I mean, we've been harping about it. Best World Cup that I think that we've seen in our time, which is really exciting. I think there's a lot to look forward to with the United States. There's a lot to look forward to with the increase in size of the World Cup. I hope, Jordan, and you and I were talking about this because they're still back and forth between the 3 teams per group or 4 teams per group. I hope they leave it alone and put it at 4 because this tournament, although it would be longer, I still think I'd be a huge fan of it. It would be in the summer months too. These teams aren't playing, and I do know that would be an extension of, it'd be kind of grueling on the body some, but it wouldn't be too much. I don't think. I think it'd be a couple more games, which I think they're okay with as long as they spread them out. But make this tournament longer. Like I think that's the thing. We're always sitting here at the end of the 4 weeks when we watch the World Cup, or 3.5 weeks, whatever it might be, and we're like, man, that went by too fast. Imagine it 4.5, 5 weeks. You got a month and a couple of days, and I think that you've got a huge following just because of how massive this tournament could be. And it's going to get a bigger following, I think, in the summer normally than it would in the winter. I would kind of have to compare the two because I haven't seen those numbers.
Yeah, well, the issue being, right, that, again, they had to cut away for the NFL games instead of the trophy presentation because of contracts.
Yeah.
Which I understand people being frustrated with that, but this is why Fox didn't want the World Cup moved to the winter, because they have these NFL conflicts with their schedule. So that was something that they were aware of, and why they didn't want it moved to the winter is because they knew they would have to cut away from stuff for football. The football contract has come first because NFL is very strict about that kind of stuff. You have to play these games over the air. While they couldn't move the NFL to FS1 because that breaches the contract. So I understand why people are frustrated with it. I hate that I had to change it too, but again, that's part of the issue of it being in the winter, which in the summer it won't happen. Yes, the greatest World Cup mean, Messi is the GOAT, but Mbappe is a freak of nature. He's the future. Thank you for commenting that. I would probably agree that Messi is the greatest of all time right now. It's hard to gauge that stuff, right? Because the game changes
Yeah.
at such a level. But if Mbappe goes out there and scores another 5 goals and is the top of, like World Cup goal scoring and helps France get another World Cup or another second place finish, I think he'd be up there for sure for one of the best of all time at such a young age. The thing that Mbappe needs to do, like you said, is go to the reason why I feel like he doesn't have the star power is because he does play at PSG.
Right.
He is a star, but here in the US, he's a little bit more under the radar because the only way to watch PSG is by having beIN Sport, right?
Nobody has that.
and cable companies are dropping beIN Sport like crazy.
Yeah.
What he needs to do if he wants to like really elevate is you go to the EPL or you go to La Liga. La Liga is now on ESPN. That's probably an ABC, and then you have NBC having the EPL, and I think his name would grow even more over here. But I think this World Cup definitely helped him even more. I mean, he became a star. Like, I knew who he was, of course, before the 2018 World Cup. He was really getting onto the scene at that point where he was where was he at? Monaco? No, Marseille? Where was he? I'm blanking.
Monaco, right?
I think he was on Monaco.
I don't remember Marseille being.
Yeah, Monaco. Yeah. He was on Monaco from 2015 to 2018. He went on loan to PSG in 2017. So, of course, like in France and like Europe specifically, he was a huge star because they're able to watch those games easier probably than we are with the with the beIN Sport over here. And then he had a good World Cup in 2018. I think regular casual American fans probably started noticing who he was a bit. I think this World Cup helps him even more. Like I feel like what casuals here know Messi, Ronaldo, Pele,
Neymar.
That's probably about it.
And they know Neymar because of his Barcelona days. They don't know Neymar. Like, if you ask people where Neymar is, they only know because he went from Barca to PSG. I'm pretty sure if you asked half the people where Mbappe plays and like how long he's been with PSG and who PSG is, they'd be like, I don't know.
If you ask them where they play, they say France.
Yeah, like somewhere over there. I have no idea where he plays. But I think the rumors to Madrid, I think they have a lot of legs. I think that's ultimately.
Oh my God! If he goes to Real Madrid, he is a huge star at that point. That's one of the biggest clubs.
I think that's where he ends up. Honestly,
I think so too.
Yeah. Like I again, and I don't know what it is. I think it's because of how physical the league is, how traditional the league is, how long it's been around, and how stars don't really do as well with England sometimes. I mean, if you're looking at the best players in the world, they hardly are ever in England. So I think it's the physicality. The more like of a team sport it seems to be, and then I guess because it's so star heavy that it's really hard to notice the superstar. So in La Liga, he would be heads above everybody else, like massively ahead of everybody else. So at least if he went there, if he goes to EPL, he's going to compete with guys that are just so good at the craft in which they do. Because you've got VVD, you've got KDB, you've got Holland, you've got guys in that league that are just massive players. Christian Pulisic. I mean, you can't compete with. No, I'm kidding. But it does seem that if he goes to EPL, I think the shadow of the other players in that league, take away from the spotlight at which he could have. So I'm thinking La Liga. I don't think there's anywhere else that he could end up that he would be that massively successful and well known. So
I think they're more willing. I think they're more willing to spend that much on one player.
They are, yeah.
Then
Barcelona's willing to go into so much debt.
Yeah. But I think he slots in Madrid. I think a lot easier. He is one of those, Madrid always tries to buy those Galacticos. He would be one of those Galacticos signings. I can't see him like the teams that can afford him in England would be what? Man City, Man U,
Liverpool, Chelsea.
No, Liverpool cannot afford this. I don't even think Chelsea can.
I think Liverpool could if they sold people. I think Liverpool could. Like, I think there's some things
what he should have done, he should have left as a free agent. He'd have all the options in the world. at
Right.
this point. But as a sporting director, can he void his own contract and then become a free agent? Like that's what I
People
don't
think he
know.
can. People think he can. Like people literally think that he can do that. Like he could just go, yeah, I'm not playing here anymore. But again, contracts don't mean crap in soccer.
Yeah,
It just
yeah, it's
seems
very
like
tough.
if they've got enough money, if somebody's got enough money, I always just think it's shocking when Barcelona come up with the funds. I'm like, they can't even pay their players. Like, how the hell they pay him? Like, who's paying that bill? Like, I just don't get it. But
All right,
I don't think he's Barcelona.
here's a good
But
question. If I was to ask you, if I give you how many games he's played for PSG, can you tell me
he's
how
been
many
hurt a
goals he
lot.
scored?
Uh,
So if I say he played 129 games, how many goals has he scored?
60.
118.
No
If I
way.
tell you he's played 66 games for France, how many goals has he scored?
How many games?
66.
Oh God.
Since 2017.
70 something.
No, he would be past Giroud at that point. He's got 36
Oh, that's
for
right.
France.
I'm
But
really
at this point, he'll probably pass Giroud, who I think has like, what, 50 something, 40 something? I'm not sure how updated this is, too. This could be off with this game. I'm not sure. Sometimes they update this stuff pretty quick, and sometimes they don't. Giroud's got 53. All right, so
Yeah.
I mean, he's like less than 20 goals away from breaking that record already.
Yeah.
Is Mbappe at the age of what, 24?
Yeah, I think so. Here's the other thing too: is like people don't know Mbappe. Like, think about it, Jordan. Like, how many people do you know that watch Liga Un? I don't know anybody that like actively watches Liga Un. Like, I
Jesus
couldn't.
Christ, he's 23. He turns
He's only 23.
24 in 2 days, December 20th.
That's insane. He's insane. He's like I want him to end up in the EPL, but I just don't think he's going to. Because it'd be fun to watch him go against the, I don't know, like, I just don't like watching people in the French league just because it's so crap when you get beyond like 3 teams. It's like, what am I watching? I just don't think he would do very well, like as well as you think he would in the EPL, just because of how well they play him. So, like, I think if you're a star, it's La Liga, and that's it. Like, that's where you maybe Serie A, but like,
no, yeah,
I
he's
don't
not
know.
going to. Serie A can barely afford any players
Yeah,
at this point. That's a problem for them.
They in France, like they just take a backseat. He should go play in Saudi. That's where Ronaldo's going.
Can he? So. Can how about? Look, I'm going to pitch this. We'll see how it goes. How about he comes here, plays for Philadelphia Union, helps us lift a few trophies, and then he can go wherever he wants.
Right. Mbappe, if you can come here and take DC United or Cincy to the top,
you can play for Wayne Rooney.
You could be a legend. Yeah,
you can play for Wayne Rooney.
If you can build a stadium for NYCFC with your own bare hands, you would be a god amongst men. So
the house Mbappe built.
Yeah. Oh man, could you imagine? He's like, no, I'd rather go USL. Okay,
he'd be the king of Queens. Right. Yeah, you could play. You could do a whole thing about him playing in New York or LA.
Yeah. Mbappe's like, I want to go to San Diego, take them from second tier to the MLS.
Like, actually, that's not how it works, Mbappe. You're not able to. Do
They don't tell him. They don't tell him. You just come here. So,
yeah, we got pro rel. Yeah, you come over here and
right.
No, I wonder how much it would cost to even get him out of PSG.
His salary would be.
This has got to be. This got to be insane.
I mean, I imagine that. I wonder if he's still in that deal, kind of like Haaland was. I think Haaland was on like a smaller deal just because he hadn't really signed a new one. Because the City got him for cheap, and Mbappe, I don't know how that works out. Like, I don't know if because he signed a new contract and he's like their sporting director and he's everything else. I wonder how expensive he would be, because I've not heard anything astronomical like what you would hear like thrown around with some of these other players. So I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it'd be a massive number because of how young he is on that contract.
I totally forgot that France won the Nations League as well. So they've won the World Cup, the Nations League, and
Yeah.
been runners up of this World Cup. So they've had a good little run.
So when the
Good
U.S.
little run.
take them down in 2026 in the final, it's going to look really impressive.
7-0 too. That'll be really
Right?
nuts.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Mbappe would have to not be at the game.
He still wins the Golden Boot and still looks
Right.
upset walking across.
12 goals.
Yeah.
Just doesn't score against the U.S. Walker Zimmerman flattens him.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's some dreaming of the future there. I wanted to say, though, that the Club World Cup did get approved
Yeah, saw
for
that.
2025 as a 32-team tournament. So we'll have the one in 2023. That'll be 7 teams. And then 2025, so there will be no 2024. 2025 is going to have 32 teams, I believe. And yeah, this was just a few days ago. And I guess we'll see. He said it's replacing the Confederations Cup, which used to be the tournament that would be played in the host country before the World Cup. So I don't know if that means we'll be hosting this thing. That could be fun. That could be a lot of fun if we're hosting 2025 Club World Cup.
I mean, they're always trying to do those U.S. tour things where they're bringing the biggest clubs. Like I do know for a fact that Champions League has even considered like, maybe we do a U.S. one, and it'd be like, what? Why? Like you're Europe. Like why are you trying to play in the U.S.? I'm telling you, the minute they start flirting with that is the minute that we start to really take off, because it is. It's like they know the money that's wrapped up in the U.S. They know if they send over the top talent as like, could you imagine, Jordan, if they played a Club World Cup final here, or a Euro, or even Europa's League, or if it was UEFA, like if they played a final in New York City for some reason, how massive that would be. It'd be like Europe would hate it.
I hope they never do that stuff.
Europe would hate it.
Like, I'm fine if you want to give like the Club World Cup to us in 2025 as a dry run for 2026, and we get to watch like however they're going to pull these teams. I don't know how they're going to do this. I really loved the idea of having, like a Club World Cup with the winner of each Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that. But the thing is, there's only like 6 continents because Antarctica doesn't have a league, so you have to end up with only 6 teams, but then they usually add in a 7th team for like the host. And then you end up in the host gets obliterated. The format was always weird. It was like if you won the Champions League, you got automatically to the semi or something. Like if they're going to do a 32 team style, 8 groups of 4 World Cup with all the club teams, I really wonder how they'll break it down. Like, are we getting 3 EPL teams and like
I was gonna say,
3
could you imagine that top 3
La Liga
teams from each league?
And like what? 2 MLS clubs or 1 MLS club?
Can you imagine
2
LAFC
Liga Mexis
Sounders showing up and they got to go play like Arsenal, City, and United or Liverpool?
And the thing is, too, would those teams take it seriously?
No, there ain't no
Well,
way.
if it's played in the summer, maybe.
If
We'll
there was a big pot, yes. And I think they could do it in the US.
That's the thing. FIFA, but the thing is, FIFA's not as rich as UEFA, so they have to make it. And this is why FIFA's doing this, is to try to become. They want their own Champions League type thing to
like a Super Cup.
Make themselves some money. What I like about this too is that I think this would be every 4 years or so. So it wouldn't be every year the way it is. And every year the way it is with the Club World Cup is not as special.
And it could give FIFA like their answer to trying to do 2 years World Cup.
So I guess if you do it every 4 years, do you just take the Champions League winners of the last 4 years, or do you still just try to get the biggest clubs? Like that's the question.
But then
you an EPL champion of the last 3 years plus a UEFA champion, or I don't know. You have to figure out how you're going to structure this.
I think the real dangerous part of that would be for Europe, because it's flirting with that idea of the Super League again. Like I think you would have,
but if it's every 4 years, it's a little different.
Yeah, but I still think you would have those teams in cahoot. They already are, like all the American teams the American owners that own the Premier League teams. They're constant. Like they still have that under. Like if they ever think they can pull it off, they'll do it again. But I think it just in this time frame, I didn't think that was. And you saw how unpopular it was. But I think as generations go on, I think it is starting to become more enticing. Kids like to watch Champions League more than they like to watch, Prem, just because the Prem's more of a marathon and the other one's more sprint. So the attention span and the ability to want to watch all these players, and I think we see that here in the United States more than any other team sport in any other country, is how bandwagony it gets over here in the United States, because there's just so many teams, there's so many sports, there's so many good players that just move around constantly now, where I still feel like soccer is not really like that, and England really does not like that. So I think that's what's good, is it's so deep seated in tradition that I don't think England will ever get that way. And I think there's just going to be a huge problem for the Premier League teams that try that. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I just think with a Club World Cup, like you're saying, you're giving those countries and those teams an opportunity to flirt with the idea of having one of those super leagues.
I just hope if they do it, people care about it and that they actually play their stars, or else it's pointless.
Yeah, because then they come over here on the U.S. tour, they never do. And if they do, it's 30 minutes or 45. So
yeah, so the pot's got to be pretty big, right?
Yeah. Do you think that they would ever come up with a mid-season tournament for Premier League or one of the other leagues to come over here?
I hope not.
I mean, I don't want them taking away FA Cup or
right.
Carabao, because those are cool.
Anything that takes away a home game for the fans, I'm against. Yeah. So,
unless it was the big clubs, maybe. You know what I mean? Let the big clubs come over here and play each other.
No, I don't like that, because the fans are the ones that make the clubs what they are, right? So imagine it this way: I don't like the NFL London games because
it takes away money.
It takes away home games from the fans that pay the same amount of money each year or more each year for season tickets, but they lose a game. That stuff kind of sucks. Baseball is a little easier because you have 81 of them. When you have the EPL has 17, 16, 7, something like that, home games.
17, because they play 34.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough to lose.
Yeah, I could see that then. Yeah, I just know with the close relation that it seems that they have with the NFL. I think the Premier League is kind of that same idea, because there's so many NFL owners that own Premier League teams now. I still think that there's a good possibility it happens, whether you liked it or not.
I think the other thing that they'd have to worry about is players revolting. If they keep adding stuff, that's
true.
That'll be a problem.
That is true.
At least with the Club World Cup, it would be in the summer like a normal World Cup would be, or international tournament would be. But if you're going to put it like how the Club World Cup is usually in January, then it's tough, right?
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get more news on that, and we'll cover whatever news we get from that. But the last Club World Cup of the 7 teams, I think, unless if they do one in 2024, which I don't think they are, is going to be February 1st through the 11th. The Sounders are in it from winning the Champions League. So we'll be covering that as we get into February. But other than that, I think that's most of it. I think we talked about everything I wrote down here. Yeah. It's good. It's 2026 should be a lot of fun. 3.5 years, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back covering this sport. We'll be a little older, a little grayer, a little less hair, but we'll still be here covering. Me too, man. It's
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be fun. I can't wait to see how it all shakes out as we build up to 2026. Hopefully, USA and some of those CONCACAF teams get into Copa America. Hopefully, we have a lot of fun international soccer building up to it. But soccer doesn't stop there. Our show doesn't stop there. We'll be covering the 2023 MLS season. We'll be covering the U.S. friendlies in January. Anything that happens with the national team. We're probably going to be putting out some more content about that soon. But But yeah, lots of soccer all the time. We got the Women's World Cup next summer that we'll be covering as well. Lots of good stuff. This is only the beginning. And it's the first World Cup we covered fully here on the Stateside Soccer Show. So if anybody has listened or commented, we want to thank everyone who took the time. You can follow us on all of our socials at Stateside Show or email us statesideShow@gmail.com. I'm Jordan Wiegand. He's Logan Stump. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.